The Cobra Clutch. The Cobra Clutch.
Yeah.
The Cobra Clutch.
Gripped in position without a fist to fidget. Forget I mentioned the Cobra Clutch is a vision. The desert is hot, but we stay cool in the mix, fixing to present. Camouflage, ready to strike on foes whenever we spit. Holding the key to the castle with the kings in the dirt. Things that we
Hey guys, welcome back to the lab. We're here with another episode of Sundaze with the Clink Room, joined by my good friend Aaron, aka Househead. Aaron, how you doing?
Excuse me. Sorry, man. I'm doing great. I'm real excited about my recent, fresh colorway pack dropping, and so I've been kind of, walking on air for the last few days.
For sure. I have to say though, great feedback so far. I haven't seen anyone really go hard on you. I know when I released mine, I had a couple people go hard on me, so I was kind of jealous a little bit. That yours was so well received, but I mean, deservedly so. I think you picked a good pack. You curated a good bunch of logos. So I guess I wanted to get you on the show to talk about it slightly. kind of your philosophy around the logos you chose and kind of how it came about. So how did it all work out for you? So you're joining this kind of small group of people. So I did the first one. Followed by Cat Fiend, and then June the Barber. So now you've kind of thrown your name in the mix, and I'm so happy for you. You've done a great job. But kind of how did that kind of come about?
Well, it's, as some folks out there might know, I've been collecting Clink Room hats heavily since 2.0 hit. Since 2.0, since Clink came back, I've been heavy into the Clink Room to the point where I've kind of shifted all of my hat budget and everything to Clink Room almost exclusively. And so over the course of time, I've just kind of developed a relationship with Casey. We speak pretty regularly, and one day, I think I just been bugging him about something in general about Clink Room, and he just kind of threw me a message and said, "Hey, what do you think about doing a fresh colorway pack?" And so after I, got my breath back, because I was so excited, at the invitation, I jumped at the opportunity and was super excited for the chance. He explained to me what he was trying to do. He said that he was trying to take a different direction with the fresh colorway and to bring some different perspectives to the fresh colorways and see what came of it. And his idea was to go with, some particular collectors first, and see what the results were. And at the time, he told me that I was only maybe like the fourth or fifth person that he had asked to do it. So
awesome.
So right then I was like super excited for the just being even thought of, in that context. And so we spent the next several days, probably over the course of a week to a week and a half, just kind of going back and forth with ideas. He asked me to come up with a list of designs that I wanted to do, and so I took some time. I told him I want a little bit of time to really figure out what I want to do, because I knew immediately that I wanted to do older designs for sure. Because in my head I'd always thought that designs like fresh sidekicks, and even pencil Kong at the time needed to be redone, and I had to actually convince him a little bit to let me do fresh sidekicks. And originally, he told me to hold off on pencil Kong because he wanted to make sure that fresh sidekicks would be received well enough, because I think that he was. At the time that we were talking about this, and this was like really early 2024, he was a little bit more mindful of how a design had sold originally before bringing it into a fresh colorway pack. And I know that his his point of view has since shifted just a little bit, on that.
Yeah.
He's a little bit more open to different designs now that didn't necessarily sell well, but now seem to have developed a cult following, if you will. And so I just went to the Clink Room and I set the sorting to oldest so I could get to page one, and just started from there, and I just made a list, and then I narrowed that list down. But I didn't get past 2021.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, of the designs I chose, the oldest one that I chose, I think, was early 2021. So everything was essentially, the first year of Clink returning that I had chose from, and it really just ended up being a group of my favorite designs that I really thought deserved to get some, more recognition, that we hadn't seen too much out there. So
That's awesome.
that's how it came to that. Yeah. So it was, when I heard somebody mention that they look at this pack like it's a love of Clink Room kind of pack, and for me that's exactly what it was. It was,
Yeah.
what were the designs that made me go, oh wow, this is what Clink Room is all about, and that's kind of the way I went.
So in terms of logo selection, was it a mix of logos you owned, or is there any logos in here that like you potentially missed out on the first time that selfishly you wanted to bring back?
Right, of course, yeah. There was definitely more logos that I wanted to do that I didn't already have, but but in the end, it only ended up being two that I didn't have from the original ones. Yes, it only ended up being two. What? Let me make sure. It was the Airborne and Gumshoes that I didn't have the original ones of.
Oh, wow,
all the rest. Well, actually, I take that back. I didn't have the Vandals original one either, and so even though we've seen the Vandals come back a couple of times in early fresh colorways, I didn't really care for them that much. The newer the ones that had come out previously. So I felt like I really wanted to do that one so I could see one the way I want to see it. So if you're going strictly by original colorways, it's 50-50. There was three that I didn't have, and then the other three I did have.
Nice.
But I knew that I had to do Ruby Throats because it's probably one of the most remarked upon logos that I have when I wear it out. When I first wore out for a couple of times the original one, I remember going into a sports shop, looking at the wall to see what hats were there, and the guy at the counter just couldn't take his eyes off the hat. And he, after we talked for a minute, he was just like, "So I got to ask you." He's like, "Tell me about this hat." So I explained to him about the Clink Room. I mean, this, how the conversation goes. I mean, that's the way all Clink Room conversations go. Where did this come from? What is it? I've never seen a hat like that before.
Yeah.
So I knew that this one, that Ruby Throats was definitely going to be in that mix. And then, just went from there.
For sure. The biggest question I always get when I'm wearing Clink Room hats is, hey, what team is that? They just assume it's a team because it looks so professional. It looks so good.
Yes.
Hey, what team is that? Where do they play?
Right.
So that's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I'm so glad you got your hands on this and we're able to bring back some of the classics. Now, me, you, and Paco, I think are starting to chip away at Casey just to like, man, just like embrace the history, man. Just flip the sails. There's because a lot of it is like you're judging these things on like a mock-up, on a 3D mock-up. So you don't know how these are going to come out. So a lot of the logos that are more simpler, quote unquote simpler on a mock-up, you don't see the textures. Like Vandals, most of us missed on Vandals.
Absolutely.
Most of us missed on Vandals.
Yep. Yeah, 100%.
But when you see it, and we have a couple in-hand shots of your version, but when you see the embroidery, the ridges, the depth that it looks like he's wearing a mask, there's just so much to that logo. And then you mentioned fresh sidekicks from Ink Park. Yeah, that one it probably barely made minimum, but that was at a time where not a lot of people were familiar with his work. He hadn't gone on and design
Yeah.
views from the vault logos, and
Right. Right.
formed good hats with Pierre, and
Right.
people weren't kind of exposed to him. And the first wave of pre-orders, if people remember, it was like 18, 20, whatever it was. It was
Yeah.
not 6. It was a lot
Right.
of pre-orders. And then
Right.
they would
Yeah.
stack on 6, 6, 6. So
Yep. Right.
at first, that was like a big money commitment. It's like, okay, well, when are we going to see these
Yes.
hats?
Right.
What, like, how long is it going to take to deliver? We don't even know what
Yeah.
these things look like. We just know Clink from 1.0.
Yep.
I think
Yep.
at the time when he made the announcement that Clink 2.0 is coming, like he made that little teaser, I think they had like
Yeah.
5,000 followers.
Oh yeah.
It was like
yeah, it was,
a
I remember.
real,
Yeah. Mhm.
yeah. And he's
Yeah, I
come a
totally
long
remember that.
way, and they've built a great thing. And now they're like a behemoth, and people just expect like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
perfect embroidery all the time.
Yes.
If one stitch is
Exactly.
wrong, let me
Right.
get a thing. Or
Yes.
um,
Exactly.
but yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, let's kind of break it down. So you had six individual colors, one colorway potentially, and then a mix of the side patches. So can you
Mhm.
kind of go talk through what your philosophy was on the colorway? Did you choose to do one colorway 6 times, or was that a joint decision?
Gotcha.
Like what kind of went in there?
So when Casey first approached me about it, I put together a pack that was all individual colors. Every hat
Mhm.
had its own personality, if you will.
Yeah.
And that took me a while to come together with, but because I was really thinking, what do I want to see in these, in these hats?
Sure.
So I did that, and I sent it to him, and he came back to me with a single color idea. And I think at the time when he was just doing this, it was a different time than now. I mean, he's got help now that
Yeah.
that helps to design the fresh colorways. So Casey was doing this all on his own when he first started doing this. So I think that his preference for the single color theme was born out of a couple things. I think that he liked the idea of a single color theme because that's what we had been seeing in the fresh colorways. But I think he also was coming from a perspective of time. Does he have time to design 6 separate colorways? Or is
Yeah.
he just going to be able to do this a lot easier and smoother? And I'll be perfectly honest. In my first go around, um, I was not going to push back on much because
Yeah, you're happy to
I
be at the table.
yeah, I'm happy
Yeah.
to be there, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't want to, push back too hard on anything. Like, I'll give you a great example. I was hopeful that my first pack would be able to be done without side patches, but when he sent me the mock-ups, they all came with side patches, and again, I didn't want to necessarily push back on that, but I just rolled with it. But what I
Mhm.
did ask was, hey, could we do different side patches on the hats rather than have one patch all the same? Because I
Yeah.
kind of felt like some of the hats, I just have a weird thing about shape of patches going along with shape of logo. And
Mhm.
so I want some contrast between those shapes, So that was kind of how I arrived at which one's got the circle logo and which one's got the stack logo. I've always been a fan of that stack logo. I really like the Clink font, and I think
Yeah.
it's a neat look. And so I asked him, I said, okay, I'm good with the side patches, but can we do this? Can we split them? And then can we work on, some of that colorization, as far as, making them a little bit more unique, because
Yeah.
one of the things we were able to accomplish, and this is something that people will see when they start to get them in hand, is that some of the accent colors are different throughout the pack. So as you can see, the Clink Room on the Vandals is black, whereas on Gumshoes it's white, and on Circuit Spirit it's blue. The same thing goes for the Kong and the flag in a couple of instances where those followed suit. And so it's given each of the hats in the pack a bit of a unique personality to some degree. And I really,
Yeah.
really like the way that turned out. As
That's
far as
cool.
the color is concerned, the colorway was one of the colorways that I had suggested for a hat when I had sent my 6 suggestions with different colors, and that was the one that we settled on that would be able to work with all 6. So
Cool.
that's how we arrived there.
That's awesome. I got a
Yeah.
sneak peek at the when I was down in San Diego. Was it September? August? I don't even remember the months.
Right. It's going
blur
so fast.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. And he's like, yeah, this is Aaron's pack, and I saw the logos, and I was super excited because you had so funny story is when you had done the original show. I think I hadn't known that you submitted yet, and then when you saw that I had the pack coming, you're like, oh, I did one too, and I was like, all right, cool.
Yeah.
So
It's
interesting. We both ended up with Ruby Throats because I think that one
I know.
Is one of the best logos. But let's go ahead.
I really feel like Ruby Throats is one of those hats that embodies what Clink Room is. I mean, it's a unique logo with vibrant color, and it's getting it done without too much. There's just it's not overdone in the detail. It's as John has said to me, as Ink Park has said to me before, big bold lines with big embroidery flows that make the difference. That's a great example of it right there.
Yeah, and it's an animal that's like not that common to find on a hat. Like, when have you ever seen a hummingbird on a hat? But
agreed.
But let's kind of break down the individual hats themselves. So Circuit Spirit, Gumshoes, and Fresh Kicks. Anything you want to tell me about like your philosophy around like why you chose these particular ones?
Well, for starters, let me go right to Gumshoes first.
Yeah.
Gumshoes is one that I'm shocked that it took this long to get it redone. I'm really kind of blown away that I'm the first one to redo Gumshoes, because it was at least in feedback originally. I know it was a popular design. I also know that people were really impressed by the embroidery, which how can you not be impressed with that, with the sole of the shoe embroidery. But this is one that to me was a no-brainer. This was another example of one of those shoes that, one of those hats that came back to me when I saw the hats when they were first dropping. It's one of those ones that really was like, okay, so this is what the Clink Room is going to be. This is the style. This is the way the embroidery is going to be next level. So that was one of the main reasons that I had to go for that. Fresh Sidekicks, again, is one that I'm surprised hadn't been done before, because being a shoe hook, if you will, in my mind, you could do so much with that hat. There could have been tons of different versions of it by now, just based on shoe hooks in different shoe colors, that you could color the shoe like the shoe for real, and the hat would have, take the accents from that. So that was one of the things that, now I didn't model it off, or I did originally model it off of a particular shoe, but this is the colorway that we ended up with that was a little different than what I had originally submitted. So, but it still turned out great. I really love the way that it turned out, and I think that the shoe itself lends to a lot of good detail coloring that a lot of people can have fun with, and I'm kind of surprised that it hasn't happened, sooner. But I did have to kind of press Casey a little bit to get that one through, because his original feeling was like, I don't know, Aaron, it didn't really sell that much, the first time around. I said,
right.
But people talk about this hat. I said, there's people that talk about this hat, and Casey, his position has always been, well, you collectors are nostalgic, and not everybody is going to be nostalgic for the same thing. And I'm like, well, but you got to give it a shot, So that was, so he relented, and let me do that one, which I was really excited about. Circuit Spirit is one of 3 hats in the pack that ended up doing by Austin. I didn't set out to do 3 hats by Austin, but it just kind of worked out that way. But Circuit Spirit is it's a well-loved design. I know a lot of people like that hat. I've always wanted to see it with contrast stitching behind the glow in the dark circuitry. And even though this is the Circuit Spirit's not based on the Pac-Man Ghost or anything like that, in my mind, that's what that kind of looks like to me, is when the ghosts are energized, when Pac-Man eats the pellet. That's what they kind of look like to me, is the energized ghost. And the glow in the dark turned out really well on that too. So
Excellent.
that was my
Yeah.
motivations on those.
Yeah, I'm so glad someone finally did an Ink Park.
Hmm.
An Ink Park fresh color. I think this is his first. He was mentioning.
Yes, it is. It's crazy.
So yeah,
Yeah,
I think
but
it's his
I'm.
first Clink Room hat, and it's his first recolor. So it's like it's really
Oh,
taking
okay.
it back.
All right. That's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I made the call. And I'll tell you, it was either it was going to be any part hat one way or another in the pack,
Yeah, of course.
because if it wasn't this one, it was going to be Pencil Kong, one of the two.
Mhm.
But I was able to convince Casey of this more than I was able to convince him of Pencil Kong for some reason. So
Yeah. Well, when I first started this show, my first call was to John to get him on and feature him
mhm.
because he's been around for so long. He knows the art. He's helped with like Clink Vision and stuff like that. He's
Mhm.
helped with the Crit Show. So yeah, John's one of those guys.
And well, not
Professional.
only that, I mean, for people that were heavy into the hat club hype, when that was going on, John had several hats
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
come through hat club, and as the part of the design collective. And I, as a matter of fact, I pulled a bunch of his old hats out of my stacks just to see him and kind of get him back into the circulation in my in my wear. So yeah, there's some good ones that were pre-Clink Room that a lot of people probably aren't even aware of.
Hmm. For sure. And then the next pair or the next trio. So we got Ruby
Hmm.
Throats, Vandals, and Airborne.
Yep.
All the letter form people are rejoicing. We finally have another
Yes.
letter hat back in rotation.
Yes.
Airborne
Yes.
is one of those ones where you see it and you see the mock-up and you're like, okay,
Yeah.
cool, it's a feather with an A. But when you see it embroidered and the
Yes.
textures and
Mhm.
the flow direction of the thread,
Right.
that
Yep.
thing is a killer hat.
Yeah. Absolutely.
But yeah,
Yeah.
what can you
And
say about these three hats?
going directly to the Airborne. Number one, that I didn't have it. I didn't have the
Yeah.
original. This was one of the ones that I let pass by and regretted when I saw it in hand. So I knew that this is one that if I was going to reach back, it was going to be for this for sure. Like you said, the texture in there is just really top notch, and it's a letter form, which we just don't see very often in the Clink Room anymore. So I was glad to be able to bring one back, and in the end, once these were done, Casey was really excited, to see how this looked, and he was glad, that we went this route. So maybe we'll get lucky, and there's going to be a little more softening towards the letter form, and in the future. But I know he was happy with the end result here. Another Austin hat was the Vandals, and like we talked about earlier, the I still remember the time that Casey did. I want to say it was his first interview with you guys on Views from the Vault, and he talked about the Vandals being an embroidery masterclass, and that stuck with me. When he said that, because I think I hadn't seen it yet at the time, and he was so excited for people to see it just because of the way the embroidery turned out. And then when we finally saw it, all of us, collectively were shocked, and impressed at the same time at how unique that embroidery style was, and just how well it came across and how well it translated as a mask. I mean, it looks, the ridges, like you said, are fantastic. So because I didn't have the original, I knew I needed to do one, so that I could have it in my collection and be a colorway that I enjoyed and that I really liked, So that's how I settled on that. And
Mhm.
then Ruby Throats we've kind of talked about as well. Again, it's about the vibrant colors and the embroidery textures that were achieved in that I just had to really see how that would work. And Casey really came up with that color scheme with the blue and the yellow, that just, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, that's really it right there. Because I was more towards the original colors and maybe some slight shading tweaks,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
he really changed it up and said, what do you think of this one? And I was like, oh, okay, that's it for sure. So,
Yeah.
and then I really loved what he did with the patch, in the way that he incorporated that yellow into the patch and really connected it. And people, when they get it in hand, they'll also see that the Kong and the New Era are colored with with the yellow on there as well.
Nice.
So I thought
It's
that
kinda
worked
like
out really nice.
kind of like a John Jay trick where you have like one
Yeah.
colorway
Uh-huh.
and you have them all individual.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying the fresh colorway theme and the fresh colorway idea because he's always like getting new people to buy hats. You see it all the time,
Yeah.
like the Bell's buy sell trade group where
Sure.
who has this hat, who has that hat. Well,
Right. Right.
you can either
Right.
get it on dead stock or you get it on fresh colorway. So
Right.
it's refreshing to see. I do like the curation of like specific themes. You see some like Japanese packs coming out or some
Yeah.
more Hispanic packs coming
Yep.
out.
Yeah.
I think in the future though, it would be cool to see him kind of split them up a little bit further. So if like this pack were to come out in the future, 3 of them would be gray black and 3 of them would be black gray.
Oh
Maybe
yeah.
two
Okay.
of the
That's interesting.
3. Yeah, 2 of the 3 have a side patch on the top color, and then maybe 1 of the 3 on the bottom color have a side. I don't know. I
Yeah, I
think
got
he
you.
just trying to pander to everyone and try to make everyone happy is kind of tough. But
Yeah.
there's enough people out there because it's tough, right? Because like if you don't like the colorway, you're gonna go for 6.
Yeah.
So
Right.
really
Yeah.
mixing it up. Maybe you make some monochrome or some not. But every pack so far that I've kind of submitted to him, all are complete mumble jumble, like completely random.
Yeah.
Not random, but like different
Yeah.
colors, different whatever. But I do enjoy like when like one of the colors just hits. Like damn.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Like even last
And,
week's colorway, I took 3 of them.
well, and I'm having to be very budget conscious right now, so I had to
Mhm.
like resist on that pack because I would have probably
Yeah.
got 4, in that pack easy.
Yeah.
I mean, because the logos that were chosen were so good, and I'm not even that big a fan of teal shades, and even though I know
Yeah.
that's not teal per se, but
Yeah.
it's still teal to me. It's I'm shocked at how much it appealed to me, how much I liked it, but yeah, that pack really was a surprise and it was really nice.
Exactly. All right, cool. So let's get through this. So now we'll cover the last call. So these next 6 hats that we'll cover, their pre-order window closes tonight at midnight. So if you're watching this Sunday afternoon, you have a couple hours to make your decision. 3 hats here that are kind of shaped the same.
Yeah.
Randomly, right?
Yeah.
But completely different subject matter.
Yeah.
Tell me about your thoughts on Lurking, our All Father, and Paper Cuts.
I like them all from a design standpoint. I think the details are really solid, and I like the colors as well. I was a little worried that Lurking was gonna just be too dark, to the point where the imagery is not going to show up very well. But we've seen, I can't nail a particular hat that's like this. But we've seen stuff that's been fairly dark in embroidery on a dark hat that actually has turned out way better than expected. So I'm not going to, say this isn't going to work because I'm pretty positive it's going to work just fine and it's going to look great, when it comes through. All Father is a cool design. I like the details in it. It's reminiscent of, I feel like we've had an Odin version Clink Room hat before a couple years back. So I tend to kind of lose interest if it's been done already before, but I do like, overall the way it looks. I mean, of course, how can you go wrong with something that's done by 2 of the top designers in the Clink Room? I mean, between Sierra and Jacobo, I mean, you're just going to get a quality product. So I think that's really solid. And Paper Cuts is fun just because it's a different idea. With the folded paper style kind of origami, in a sense, but I think it's neat. Ultimately, it wasn't quite for me, but I can see this being a popular design when it comes out. I think it's going to look really good, especially the lines on the paper. I think that's going to look really neat.
Yeah, man. This is a good trio, man.
Yeah.
Milos is such a good artist, and when he originally put out his design with Lurking, it included like the full body, I think piles of gold, like a knight and all that. And,
Right.
I had said on the show when we were reviewing them, I'm like, this is too much stuff, man. Just nail the head, have the head. It reminds me of like this poster of House of Dragon season 1, where Rhaenyra's in it, and then like behind her, you just see this like really dark
the dragon
figure with the dragon. I'm like, just make a hat like that, and it looks so freaking cool, man. Because I think right now we're kind of in this space. Now I don't blame the artists, right? But we're kind of in this space where everyone is just like flexing their skills so hard because you only have those couple seconds, to hit something on while voting. So everyone's making these really elaborate like scenescapes or crazy like things. It's like, nah, man, like just get it back to just simple. Like just hit your mark. You don't need like if we're gonna like criticize anatomy and fingers and all that, just don't include it. You know? And Lurking did that, and Paper Cuts did that too, because the original one was a full body set. I'm like, how are you gonna embroider this? Number one.
Exactly.
I don't know if they watched the show and reduced it to a head because of what I said, but I saw it. I was like, the concept is great. The concept is cool. Just do the head. You don't need to see a paper sword or whatever. So, you know, shout out to the artist. This, to me, these three is more like the kind of Clink of old, you know, just nailing a cool image.
It's getting us back to that logo style that we've talked about before, that I've talked about with John before, just getting back to that logo style where the focal point is more concentrated, you know, and just in one spot rather than trying to fill the whole front panels of the hat. You know? It really,
not only that, it's like it's from far you can see what it is. Like, you don't need to look up close. The coolest ones are like, from far, it's visible, but then up close, you'll see Easter eggs, or you'll see little like, details, or maybe be impressed by the embroidery. But I think all three nailed it. I'm between Lurking and Paper Cuts as number one, but it's like 1A, 1B type thing. But there's nothing wrong with All Father either. Like it's a cool.
I think Lurking would be number one for me.
I think it's just gonna embroider so cool.
Yeah, I agree.
But all right, cool. Let's move on. Birds of Paradise, Pointers, and Getting Squirrely. Again, another solid three. Three completely different designs. We got two circles and a gnome riding a freaking
lawnmower. I know
lawnmower, which is so fun. But what are your thoughts here?
So the two of the hats in this of these three were like instants for me, just because again it's getting back to that logo style. Phil's style, you know, is just so good too. You know, on these fun type of designs, you can't go wrong with any one of these. For me personally, my top pick was Birds of Paradise, and the reason for it is because my parents, both my mom and dad, were born and raised in Hawaii. So when they came to California, you know, to basically start their lives, they, you know, in front of the house that I grew up in, we had Birds of Paradise, you know, just lining the driveway. Just, you know, we had a bunch of them, and so I grew up with that plant, that flower in front of my house all my life, you know. So Birds of Paradise really spoke to me from a more nostalgic, you know, personal place, and I loved it immediately. So I knew that was instant. Pointers, I think, is fantastic because it's just it's the detail is just right, and it's just such a perfect embodiment of the hunting dog, you know, in a sports format. You know, I really liked about that one, and I thought the colorway worked really well too. And then, like I said about Phil's, I mean, just, you know, it's a fun logo as always from Phil. Phil and Rick did a great job on this concept, and I really, you know, think that, you know, again, you know, how can you not get a chuckle out of, you know, looking at that logo and seeing that, you know, and just going, what in the hell is going on there? It's a good one.
Phil's got such a skill to like create motion and personality and character within his characters. And then he also doesn't hide from like the small details, like the little rotary blades on the bottom of the thing, you know, the little the pull start, You got the little squirrel in his hand. You know, rest in peace, Peanut the squirrel. Birds of Paradise too, man. That looks like such a complete and finished logo. It looks like an app company's logo. Like you can just picture it kind of come up on your phone. And then pointers. So the good thing about Birds of Paradise and pointers is both of them are kind of sportsy logos, but we're not forcing the sports on.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Exactly. Yep.
So it's so cool. CBS Inc. too. He's from Michigan, so like you got the Detroit Tigers kind of colors too. So that's a cool kind of like little call out to that. And just a strong group of hats there. People are gonna have a hard time.
This was a tough week. A lot of good hats in this week, and it's really you hate to have that many choices sometimes, because you can't break the bank every week.
For sure. Okay, and then now we'll cover the shock drop. So this shock drop hasn't released in real time. It's gonna actually release later today. So we're filming this on Thursday, but of course everyone watching this on Sunday has had their chance to catch it. So what are your initial thoughts on Ultimo Charo making a return?
The one thing that I really like about the shock drops is just bringing back some some classic logos, and I don't know that we've seen this one come back before, have we?
Yeah,
is it a different pack? Because I like it in this colorway a lot. I really like it.
It reminds me of the campfires.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, with that orange with the green. With the green undervisor, but I like it, and what I like about this too is that the colors that were chosen for the embroidery really highlight the embroidery. The embroidery texture and detail really shows up and looks really good there. I like that a lot.
Yeah. So this is the second time it's been dropped as a shock drop. So the original is black. The second one is in red, which that one I definitely picked up, and then this one in the rust color. So this is the third time.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The third iteration. So the second time it's been shock dropped. I mean, it's a good logo. It probably sells real cool. The good thing about this, I wish I pulled up my original one, but like Vandals, you can see that his mask is way more in front of the face.
Right.
So you can see the ridges. And it was so cool. But
it's very cool.
Before we kind of transition to the next part, let's kind of take an in-hand look of your pack here. I forgot to do that.
Oh, yeah.
So the three that I had to limit, obviously I wanted all six, but I had to limit what I ended up getting.
Sure.
So I picked three. I think you did a great job on these ones. So T-Quals, TQ, we don't really see them that often. So, I mean, hopefully this is a cry to, get back on the Clink horse, but the embroidery on these like fans like shoes, look at how ridged it is, man.
Yes, exactly. I mean, it's just it's just one of those things that it's shocking to me that it hadn't come back sooner. But this one and Circuit Spirit have gotten the most feedback since it dropped. Of people picking it up. So I think this one and Circuit Spirit are probably the top two. I'd be shocked if it was otherwise, but yeah, that's a good one. Really happy with the way that turned out.
I remember the original one was so cool too because it had like that gum bottom color.
Yes.
On it. But yeah, T-Quals, you killed it, sir. Aaron, great job bringing it back. And then of course, fresh sidekicks. I was lucky enough to pre-order the original. So I'm definitely going to take a group shot of these two together. Just Ink Park at its finest. Like the shoe, it looks like an actual shoe on the hat.
Right. Yeah. This is one of my favorite designs of his, and I was really, really excited to be able to bring this one back.
Yeah. And then of course you got the little blue accents on the flag and the conch. And then my biggest regret.
Yeah, me too.
My biggest regret.
Yeah.
Look at the embroidery.
Yep.
It's just you like thick. Laid around thick.
It's thick and layered, but the ridges the ridges are the best part. I mean, those ridges just really, that was the stuff that blew everyone away.
Yeah,
just
and then
great. Right.
black on the side. So you have the other three. So let's take a look
Yep.
at the other three in here.
So the first one that I was wearing already was the ruby throats, and let's see if I can pull it back enough for the color. See, my light is really, oh, there we go. So you can see the blue and the yellow, and then in the yellow on the flag, and in the side patch, and also in the Kong.
Beautiful.
Really, really beautiful hat. And of course, another favorite, the Circuit Spirit.
Yeah.
And I was really glad that it turned out as well as it did, because I remember Casey saying, he's all, well, if you do this color under the circuitry, that kind of blows the reveal. And I'm like, yeah, but it's going to look cool. It's like, it's just going to really look cool to be able to have that contrast behind it, and it certainly worked that way. And the glow in the dark still looks great too. So it's got the Stack logo in the blue along with the blue Kong.
I think the original mock-up, he had it as like half black, half white hat. Remember?
Yes. Yep. Yep.
And it's all tonal stitching, so it's cool to see it done with the contrast stitching. So.
Yeah, I definitely like it. And then, and like you said, letterform fans rejoice. Here's the Airborne, and and you can already see the ridging on the embroidery to make that A stand out under the arrow. I mean, it's just so good. And then it's got the red, or actually it's orange. It's like a reddish orange for the Kong, and then the Clink Room side patch. Perfect. But yeah, this one was definitely a solid one. Shout out to Austin for all the having all these designs that I am totally in love with that I had to do again. So
of course, yeah. I mean, he definitely dominates the sales when he gets in, and definitely he was a big part of my package too, for sure. So solid artist. All right, cool. So now let's get into the next section. So we have a small announcement to make. There is no crits this week. So Casey is about to embark on a personal family trip to Japan. So we wish you, Casey,
they're going
and the
to
family.
Japan?
They're going to Japan for a couple of weeks. Yeah,
man, I am jealous. Oh,
yeah,
man, he's gonna have a great time.
Yeah, Casey and the fam, have a great time. Well deserved. He offered. He's like, oh, there's no crits this week, so feel free to take it off. But we do not take weeks off here. We do not take weeks off. So I had to make sure we get you on the show to talk about your stuff. And of course, I mean, we still had to cover shock drops, last calls.
Of course.
But we do have a preview. So breaking news next week, the designs are all going to come from Sierra Garments. So Sierra will be on the show next week to talk about the pre-orders. Right. By the time the show airs, you guys will already have seen the pre-orders. But we're still going to get him on to kind of talk about what he made and what he did. So he's kind of doing an artist takeover. So that's exciting. That's
really cool.
And then we have a small, tiny ass preview. So Sierra, man, I can't wait. Nice. He said yes right away. We're going to film next week, and that will be the show. But that's awesome. We will cover the pre-orders hitting the shop on that have recently hit the shop on Friday. Mm-hmm. So we're doing this in advance timing. We have the pre-orders, and we'll just kind of talk about them and get your natural reaction to give you guys a little bit more content. So the first two, I don't have the names of the clinkers and the actual name of the hat, so these are kind of advanced. We're doing them in advance, but Magnus did the radioactive one.
Yes,
and
that's a color change on that too, wasn't it? Like more of a yellow.
Yeah, he had yellow and he had like a yellow under, so they kind of
so it's gray now,
like but lime green. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the gray bottom.
Yeah, the detail on that is really solid. I mean, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, this really other one is real cool too, man.
Yeah, And you don't you're not familiar with who did that. That's fantastic. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's like
I
a
can
screaming
definitely see
skull.
myself grabbing that.
At least it's a skull done in a new way, you know. Like
Yeah.
people kind of criticize the skulls, you know, just throw a skull on it. But this is like
Yeah. Right.
a real cool one.
This
You got
is
the
this is an
fang.
angle we haven't seen before, you know.
And
And I
it's
really
kind of
like the colors.
it's kind of done in that like Southwest Sedona palette, right? So you see the that kind of that
with
kind
a
of
different color
Sedona
button.
red
Yeah, that like
button.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the actual colors of the purple and the blacks that kind of reminds you of like a Diamondback.
Yes, right.
Arizona Sidewinders kind of palette.
I like that
It's
a
just
lot.
a smooth hat.
That's
Purple
really nice.
teal. Yeah, we're starting off strong. The next one, so this one is glow in the dark. So
wow.
if you were to guess, who do you think did this one?
Right off the top of my head, I say Win.
Okay.
I could be wrong, you know. I don't want to insult anybody, but you know, but it strikes me, you know, the pose, you know, strikes me that way.
Yeah.
But it's a nice. I really like that design. That's pretty cool looking. This is shaping up to be a tough week already.
Yeah, I almost feel like this is an Ink Park design. I'd be curious.
Really?
We'll see. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know. Could be wrong. We'll find out.
That'd be really cool. That'd be really cool if it was Ink Park, because to me, that's a little bit of a departure for him. You know, that it's a kind of a venturing into a different style.
The only reason I say that is because there's such bold black in the face.
Yeah, sure.
It makes me think.
Right,
It's Ink
I get you.
Park, but
okay,
it could be Ink Park. It could be like a CBS. You know, we'll see.
Yeah, I could see that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next two, Polaris, which was I believe Milos, and then Druid by Matt.
Druid? That's it. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Druid seems a little bit brighter to me. Did something change there, do you think?
I believe so, yes. So
Okay.
it looks like they've really buffed up the green. So they kept it kind of monochromatic, but then made the they use a real high contrast green.
Sure. Right.
And
it looks good,
I think it was green and brown originally. And he kind of stayed in that things, and it looks like they pumped up the contrast. Green black now.
It pops better that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's cool.
Smooth. Not a huge fan of the scenescape landscape thing, but I mean it's still done.
Before,
It's still done
well.
Yeah. I can't hate on it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just
I just wonder what how's the polar bear really going to translate in there? You know, is it going to show up well enough? You know, that's always my concern with the small detailed animals like that.
It's hard too because the polar bear is white and the snow is white. So I think the original had like a blue outline around all of it. They kept the blue outline only to the bottom. That's a cool little trick that they did.
Got it.
And I think they made the polar bear slightly bigger, but it's still a rad piece.
Right.
But yeah, so that's
I wouldn't be surprised to see that end up being something that I see done in the final product and go, oh, why did I skip that?
Oh yeah. But especially by the threads they pick, if they like kind of have a good glimmer or a good almost metallic look to it, and then you can kind of see the thing. That's a good one, man. You know,
it is.
We harp on the landscapes a little bit, but that's kind of one of those things where if it's done right, it's undeniable. It's undeniable. And the thing too is like they vote well, so I can't fault the artists for doing them.
Right.
You know.
Right. No, agreed.
So, but yeah, that was a great little tight show. Appreciate you coming on and being flexible with your time and
absolutely. No, thanks for having me on and let me show off the pack and put more hype around that. The feedback has been really strong on the pack, and I'm really thankful that everyone is that it's been so well received. You know.
Yeah. So they do a little foreshadowing. They say Househead 1. So you know that. You know, that usually follows up with part 2. So we'll have to keep
part 2. Yeah.
We'll have to keep an eye out for that. But yeah, always been a great friend to me. Always been a great supporter of the show. I'm super happy for you. And
thank you.
yeah, this is cool. So now you've released licensed, and now you've released Clink Room, man.
Yep.
People are
Yep.
jealous, man.
Yeah.
So keep it up, man. Great
Thank
guy.
you. Thanks.
And until next time, Leon and Aaron,
Right
we're
on.
out here.
Awesome.
Peace.
Peace.
You're at the end of the world as you know it, my dude. Time is up and you out of mood, so what will you do? It's the BP mercenaries not here to...
Brought to you by VFTV.